Hey there everyone, Matt here, and this is a big one. We are going to do the quadratic equation, okay, which is this right here. The opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. There's many different ways to memorize. People make songs out of it, and they have all these little mnemonics and ways to do it. Honestly, you just got to do problems. And the more you do problems, the better you're going to get. So let's talk about what the A and the B and the C is. And by the way, you can find all this stuff at maxtutorials.com. And I have lots of algebra there. This is kind of the end of the factoring sequence right here because the quadratic formula is going to take a while, okay? They're nasty problems, but you can solve all of them this way. So anytime you get something in the form of x squared, x, and a number, plus or minus, doesn't matter which one, okay, you can solve all of them with the quadratic equation. The only thing is because it takes longer, you may want to use a different way, and I went through all the different ways beforehand. Now, if all of a sudden the problem you get doesn't fit in any of those quicker ways, you have to use the quadratic formula, okay? So now, here's the way it works. Your A is whatever's in front of that x squared. Your b is whatever is in front of that x. And the number floating out here, that's the c. So if I look at this, number 1 right here, what's in front of that 1? Or sorry, what's in front of the x squared? Forget that, I don't mean that right there. But it's just the number 1, right? So on this one, my a is going to be 1. What's in front of the x? A 2, so that's my b. And what's my C? It's this number, and you have to go with the sign as well. So use the sign, okay? And so now we're going to use this formula right here. Okay, opposite of B, that means change the sign of B. So that's going to be negative, oops, I don't have my pen going, there we go. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of, now it's B squared, so that's 2 squared. Usually you would put this in parentheses. If it's positive, it doesn't matter, but if it's negative, it goes in parentheses. B squared minus 4, it's always 4, and now it's A times C. A is 1, C is negative 1, all over 2A, so 2 times 1, okay? And so that one, I'm just going to work down, negative 2 plus or minus the square root of, now let's do the work. 2 squared is 4. Now, don't think about that so much as a minus sign. Think about that as a negative 4. It always works better that way. Because if I go negative 4, what am I doing? If I go negative 4 times 1, that's a negative 4. And negative 4 times negative 1 is a positive 4. All over 2a, which is just 2. Okay, this is going to turn into negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 8 over 2. Now, I want to take that 8 and I want to reduce that down. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. We talked about this in the section on radicals, and so this is really 2 root 2, okay? So I'm going to get negative 2 plus or minus 2 root 2 over 2. Now, once you get to something where you can reduce fractions, because I know you guys notice all those 2's. Well, here's the thing. You can, but you have to divide both the first and the second one. So this is going to become negative 1 plus or minus root 2. They canceled and they canceled, okay? Another way to write that, if that was a little bit weird, and maybe it is because that was the first one we did, you can separate it with this. So you're going to go negative 2 over 2 plus or minus 2 root 2 over 2. I just make sure that 2 goes under both terms. And now I'm going to get negative 1 plus or minus root 2. Okay, and that's how we do it. Let's go ahead and do some more. I've got, what, 8 of these? Yeah, we can do 8 of these, that's fine. Okay, so now on this one, what is A? A is 1. What is B? Negative 4. What is C? Positive 1. Opposite of B, remember? Don't forget, people say negative B. That's fine, just a negative is a positive, right? But the opposite of B means that we're going to change the signs of this, okay? So now we're going to take a look at this, and what is the opposite of B? The opposite of b is going to be a positive 4. Plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's negative 4 squared, minus 4 times a times c. Okay, all of this over 2a. 2 times 1, okay? Which is going to become 4 plus or minus. Now here comes the big math. Negative 4 squared. Now that's in a parentheses, so the negative is part of that. What's negative 4 times negative 4? A positive 16. Negative 4 times 1 is just minus 4 all over 2, which becomes 4 plus or minus root 12 over 2. Okay, now we want to keep going with that. If I can break down 12, I'm going to do it up here. See where I'm up here? 12, and that's going to be 4 times 3, and that's 2 times 2. So really, square root of 12 is just 2 root 3, okay? And if I went too quick on that, I have a whole section on radicals. Go to that. That's simplifying a radical in that section. That's what I did right there, but I did it really quick because I spent time on that in another lesson. 4 plus or minus 2 root 3 over 2. Now, since I see that both of them, I'm going to cancel here and there, and I'm going to get 2 plus or minus root 3 as my answer. Okay? That's a very similar thing to what I did on number 1. All right, let's go to number 3 here. What's my A? So on this one, I'm going to write over here, my A is 1, my B is 6, and my C is 2. A, B, C. Okay, opposite of B. Let me scoot over. I want to give myself plenty of room. Opposite of B, plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC. All over 2A. Okay, see how it's just plug it in. Negative 6 plus or minus square root of 36, negative 4 times 1 is negative 4, times 2 is negative 8, all over 2, which becomes negative 6 plus or minus square root of, and what does that become? That becomes a 28, does it not? All over 2. Now off on the side, let's break down 28. That's going to be 7 times 4, right? And that's going to become 2 times 2, so it's really 2 root 7. So we're going to go negative 6 plus or minus 2 root 7 over 2. Since both of them will reduce with the 2, I'm going to go negative 6. I'm going to go negative 6 divided by 2, which is negative 3, plus or minus, and then I'm going to cancel out those 2's. I'm going to get a root 7. And that, my friends, is the answer. Let's go on to number 4. Okay, number 4, my A is 2. My B is negative 4, and my C is negative 1. Okay, let's use the formula. Opposite of B, plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC, all over 2A. How do you think this formula came up with? There was probably a proof done where you were taught that. I didn't do it in here, okay? So I'm just trying to help you to get your problems, especially for people who are struggling. Maybe I'll do a video later on how we came up with the quadratic equation. But for your purposes, you just need to know how to use it, okay? Let's go to the right. There's different ways to do this. So I'm going to go 4 plus or minus root. That's going to become a positive 16. Now, I have a negative times a positive. So I know my answer is going to be positive. 4 times 2 times 1 is just an 8. All over 4. Okay, which that's going to become 4 plus or minus root 24 over 4. All right, now if I want to keep this train going, I'm going to go right there now. I'm going to go 4 plus or minus. Now I'm going to break down my 24. That's going to be an 8 times 3. And 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So there's a pair of 2's. What's left over? A 6. 2 root 6 over 4. Now I'm going to write this differently just so you can see this. That would be the same as 4 over 4 plus or minus 2 root 6 over 4. It's okay to split that, but you got to have 4 on both the bottoms, okay? So that's fine. And that's going to equal 1 plus or minus root 6 over 2. Okay? So that's how we would do that. That was number 4. Let's keep doing. Hopefully these, are a little scary, but they, you feel better every time we do them. Okay, let's do this one right here. We're going to call that A equals 3, B equals 5, and C equals 1. Opposite of B, plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Okay, and that's going to equal negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25. Negative 4 times 3 is 12 times 1, so it's going to be a minus 12 all over 2A, which is going to be 6, which is going to be negative 5 plus or minus square root of 13 over 6. I can't break down 13. I can't reduce 5 and 6, so lo and behold, I have an answer. Okay, and there you go. 6. There's my A, there's my B, there's my C. Let's try this. Opposite of B, B is your negative 4. So opposite of B is a positive 4. Plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared minus 4AC. Be careful of those negative signs. All over 2A, which is 2 times 4. Okay, which is going to turn into 4 plus or minus square root of negative 4 squared is 16. Negative times a positive times a negative is a positive. And I'm going to get a 16 out of that all over 8. That's going to turn into 4 plus or minus square root of 32 over 8. Now let me break down 32 over here. 32, that's going to be 8 times 4, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. All right, so I got 1, 2. There's a pair. There's a pair. The 2 is left over. 4 root 2. Okay, so this, I'll go over here, is going to equal 4 plus or minus 4 root 2 over 8. Now, I can see that they both 4s will reduce. So that's 4 over 8 plus or minus 4 root 2 over 8, which reduces to 1/2 plus or minus square root of 2 over 2. That's how I got that. Okay, and that, my friends, is the answer. It's nasty, but it's correct. All right, let's keep going here. Let's do this one. On this one, I'll write this one out. A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 5. Okay, this one could be an ugly one, but that's good. I want an ugly one. Opposite of B, negative 2, plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C. Oh, goody, I wanted one of these. All over 2A, 2 times 1. Okay, let's keep going. Negative 2 plus or minus square root of 4. And I got a negative 4 times a 1 times a 5, which is a negative 20. All over 2. Uh-oh, watch this. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of, add a line, change the sign, negative 16 over 2. Now, what did we learn about negative square roots? We can't have them. Okay, you cannot find a number that will multiply by itself to get a negative 16. It doesn't exist. So as soon as you see that negative, guess what? No solution. Okay, and you will run into these. Okay, so be very, very careful. So you cannot factor this one out. Okay, it's done. The answer is no solution. All right, that's what happens whenever you get a negative inside that square root. Okay, one more and then we finish the page. A equals 5, B equals negative 2, C equals negative 1. Opposite of B, plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC. C. How you doing at getting that memorized? After 8 of them, you start to get it, don't you? Okay, all over 2a, which is 2 times 5. And that's going to equal 4 plus or minus square root of 4. Negative 4 times 5 is negative 20 times negative 1 is positive 20 all over 10. Okay, and that's going to equal, I'm going to go down here now. We're going to go 4 plus or minus square root of 24 all over 10. I'm going to break 24 down here, which is 8 times 3. 8 is 2 cubed. I just know that. Boom, boom, boom. I get a pair of 2's, and I'm left with a 6. So I'm going to get 4 plus or minus 2 root 6 over 10. Now, I'm going to do this the quicker way. I'm now going to reduce 4 and 10, which will give me 2 over 5, plus or minus, but I also got to do 2 over 10, which will be 1 over 5. So this will be root 6 over 5. Okay, I could also write it 2 plus or minus root 6 over 5. That works too. Okay, so either way, both of these answers are correct. All right, so now you may not be perfect, but this formula should start to be getting in your head if you walk through me with 8 more problems. But guess what? I have 8 more in version B and 8 more in version C. So stick with me, and after we do, what is that, 24 problems, you should start feeling really good about the quadratic equation, okay? Nice job, everybody. I'll see you on the next one.